Warning. The following episode contains spoilers about the killing of the sacred deer. All celebrity voices and musical instruments were impersonated. Welcome to Marianne's Macabre movie review.
Hello, folks. We've got a bunch of people here for Killing of a Sacred Deer. All right, we got Mike, Lee, Lauren, and J. Keith Jackson. And me. I'm Marianne. So, this movie. Let us do a brief what you thought of it. You know, we won't get too in depth, and then we'll just dive right in after everyone has said their piece. Mike, why don't you start?
I thought it was all right.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of reminded me of a Harmony Korine movie, except done in like a horror-ish fashion. Mm-hmm. And the kid reminded me of a grown-up kid from Gummo, too, so that didn't help. Plus being shot in Ohio. I don't know.
So it was shot in Ohio?
Yes, Cincinnati.
Did you, so you're saying that this was a more horrific version than the other?
I wouldn't say it's more horrific than Gummo, but I'm just saying.
No, you said you said this reminded you of something else, the movie, like a version of some other... Yeah,
like Harmony Korine did like Gummo and like Mr. Lonely and...
Oh, they did. I see.
Wrote Kids and stuff. Kind of reminds me of... And just that really awkward, stunted dialogue and, you know, an emphasis on feeling uncomfortable with everything that was happening on the screen.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Lee?
It kind of stretched the purported nature of psychological thriller.
I have so many theories about this movie.
Okay.
There's a lot of negative space.
A lot of negative space, but like the whole thing struck me as a reaction to like stilted, wealthy, white life. That everything is in its place. Everything, even the kinky stuff, is like done very methodically.
Yeah.
And everything is about shunting your responsibility onto someone else. And just, yeah, I think the horror was life.
Yeah.
Not necessarily wizard kid coming to get revenge.
That's very good. Andrew, I think it's probably it, actually, for the reason for the dialogue. My first line was, "What the fuck is happening? Dialogue is very stiff. There must be a reason."
There must be a reason.
It grew on me, actually, after a while. After I just gave up and went with it. It was actually kind of, for lack of a better word, charming. As Nicole Kidman's character said.
Who was charming?
No, the way that they were speaking.
Oh, okay.
Was kind of infectious after a while, but just very off-putting at first, certainly, and just distracting. But then I kind of went with it. Overall, I like the concept. I'm not sure that. I think, as I was saying to Lee, or he was saying at the end of the movie, I don't know that it was really worth it, and for what they did. I mean, the form of a function, but.
So, we had 2 people that were supposed to come today. 3 people that were supposed to come today. 2 that had already seen the movie. So, they gave me their notes. So I'm going to read their notes to that, and we can react appropriately, and then I will give my things. Because since they're not here to defend themselves, we can't really do much, but...
Why would you think that?
So, Amanda Hyman, who has a podcast called Amanda's Picture Show a Go-Go, she says, "I loved it. It ended up being number 10 movie of the year. My number 10 movie of the year. I think Yorgos Lanthimos is a fantastic director. I know his style isn't for everyone, but it's totally up my alley. The cinematography is gorgeous, and Colin Farrell with his dad bod totally does it for me."
Sorry.
Not for me.
No.
That's Marianne. So
Yeah.
How'd you feel about the beard, Marianne?
the beard was awful. I hate it.
Terrible beard.
Give me Percival Graves from Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them any fucking day.
How did you feel about his armpit hair?
It was pivotal.
Pivotal.
It wasn't nearly enough.
It was not nearly enough.
Bit of a
3
letdown.
times. Yeah, I know.
There's going to be a whole lot of armpit hair.
Even I was expecting like Alec Baldwin type hair, not like.
Ironically,
Yeah.
obviously groomed. I've seen him in so many other films, and he is absolutely hairier than that.
Really?
Colin
Yes.
Farrell?
I
Yeah.
think
wow.
so.
Hairier than Alec Baldwin or
No,
hairier than what we saw in
he
the movie?
appeared
Okay.
in that film.
All right, yeah. Okay, so, because he probably had some shirtless scenes in Beguiled, so I'm guessing they had something
It hadn't all
there.
grown back in.
Yeah, maybe it hadn't grown back in. So Jessica said, I thought the acting was really good. It was a very creepy atmosphere. Ended up making me mad, though, at the end, because I wanted revenge. And revenge is in all caps.
Well,
I would like her to clarify that. Revenge against whom? For
yes,
what?
revenge was had.
Yeah, I think it was more revenge for...
Against the filmmaker?
I'm guessing it's revenge for everyone getting away with everything.
Oh, yes.
You cursing that family and getting away with it, and him killing his son and getting away with it.
As far as we know, I mean, that could have just been the next day. Or a couple of days from
Yeah,
His bruises were healed.
Yeah.
So no.
and it's difficult to say how real we're supposed to think this is. I mean, part of the cinematography and the way the dialogue was delivered really makes it seem like you're not supposed to think it's real.
And the cellist.
The cellist.
Up until a third party had responded to Martin, I was rolling with, like, this is a personification of his guilt over something. That's where that was going.
Yeah.
Just because it was such, like, a bland, almost like...
Can I hug you?
That whole first sequence was almost like someone talking to themselves.
Mm-hmm. Well, and just all of the interactions being so specifically bland. I mean, talking to someone about your cool watch that is 200
Oh my
meters.
God. Jesus.
Water
Who talks
resistant.
like that?
And like monotonously at that.
Yes,
Like, that's
just
a very nice
monotone.
watch.
It just really makes it feel to me like this is not reality.
Yeah.
This is some other thing happening.
I also feel that you have a handsome watch.
Well, I have some notes about my predictions on that.
Can I cover mine first?
Well, mine relate directly to what we were just saying, which is, first of all, I said the anesthesiologist sounds normal for some reason. And I said, for the record, I'm predicting they're aliens. And then I said, it's like a certain subset of the characters were written by an AI that can't quite differentiate between the subsects of inner thoughts and dialogue. So it was like I feel this way about you, and I'm going to do this.
I
I
laughed
don't want
until
to do
my
that.
ribs hurt.
Yes.
Ha.
He's hilarious. Yes, yes, he is.
Now you've got me started.
That's a great reference to something else. Something from our pod. It's all been done radio hour. But
Go ahead,
It's
Keith.
fine, I understand.
that's it.
Oh, it's your turn now.
Okay, so it was great watching it with people because I don't think I would have made it through without people here. And I love Nicole Kidman and I love Colin Farrell. And so this was really something that I was like, oh my gosh, this movie is for me because I love these two people. And this movie isn't for me. This movie was not typical horror. This is more of the let me keep you in an awkward feeling for 2 hours and 1 minute.
It's a perfect pairing with It Comes at Night, isn't it?
Yes. Yes. We will talk about that after this. My goodness. I don't know where to... I think I kind of liked the movie. Yeah, it's a psychological thriller that just kind of made you feel uncomfortable the whole time. Just even hey, Laura, let me tell you a secret, and you can tell me a secret.
Oh,
we'll see which
jeez.
one's better.
Yeah.
My
By the
God.
way, I did this weird, horrible thing. Why would you go first in that situation?
Why would you go first? And again, the delivery was complete deadpan.
Yeah.
It's like, this is, first of all, as a kid, you would not react that way to your dad telling you that he jacked somebody off, let alone your grandpa.
Yeah.
I mean, there would
You
be,
never lead with your top. Or...
Yeah.
you just would react viscerally to it.
Yeah,
but there were only 2 people in the entire movie that really reacted.
Mm-hmm.
The first one was Martin's mom, and she only reacted facially.
Mm-hmm.
She had the most facial expressions going on in the movie of anyone, like exaggerated facial expressions. Yeah. And then the anesthesiologist's wife. She's the only one who sounded normal, and she had like 2 lines, but they were delivered like she was a housewife.
Normal person, yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, it was a movie, and I'm not sure I would, I mean, it's been classified as horror in a lot of things, so, and both Jessica and Amanda are like, I don't know why it's classified as horror. It's like, well, there are a lot of horrific elements in it, and I see that.
Creepy.
I think it's shaped like a horror movie. The situation, certainly the seemingly supernatural element to what was happening.
Yeah, and the fact that there wasn't gore in it, I think, is not a reason to discount the fact that it's not horror.
Well, I think it's the whole what hides beneath the placid surface segment of horror that's being dealt with there.
Also, I think for someone who is particularly interested in horror, I think that, well, for example, when I was on the Amazon page, that's where we got it from. Yeah. I saw it had an average rating of 2 stars out of 5, and the first couple were 1-star reviews where people were like, "Oh, I gave up on after 45 minutes." Just
why?
Well, I mean,
I could see it.
I don't think.
I mean, I guess
you have to have a certain mindset going into this. I think, and I was certainly amused by it. I mean, it took me a second, but I mean, after a while, it made me laugh out loud genuinely, which is something that I find very entertaining.
I would say it is in no way bad film. I think that Amanda mentioned the cinematography. Cinematography was amazing. Yeah. There were some really incredible tracking shots. Mm-hmm. There was all kinds of amazing composition. But it all seemed to be leading to this kind of de-centered feel that I think they were going for, and I think that's the same thing with having the flat affect bent of the direction. I mean, that was obviously directorial. It's not like there's no way you would just by happenstance everybody just decided to come with their.
It was a practical joke,
like halfway sedated read.
Well, it's like
and we just went cut print. That's good.
It's like, this is Colin Farrell. This is the guy that was like bullseye I mean, this is the same guy, and I'm like, how is he this bad? And I mean, Bullseye is also bad, but I mean, he's in a completely different way. He has this line of work where, and Nicole Kidman too, it's like, these people are people that I respect and like and really enjoy their films, horror, musical, whatever, love it, and then to see this movie being super jazzed, to see a horror film with my 2 favorite people in it, and the entire movie I'm going, what the fuck's happening? Why are they I know, I understand that it is a director's choice. It's not, I'm not going to bash it because, oh my gosh, they're bad actors. Or like, if you look at the IMDb page, it's just as bad as the Amazon page. 1 star. What did they do? The writing's awful. These actors can't do anything. I was like, okay, folks.
Well, as I was getting at then, it's just, it's one of those kinds of movies that's too good for its own good, in my opinion. I think a lot of people are going, or the lay person, they're not going to appreciate this.
It was trying very hard. I mean, I think that's something that you said. And it's interesting because I had kind of an inverse reaction. I hate Colin Farrell and don't really like Nicole Kidman that much. But really only found myself disliking Colin Farrell in this film when he had the tantrum in the kitchen. Yeah. Which, ironically, was another place where there was an actual, like, spike of emotion in someone's response to a situation. I was like, ugh, but this guy.
Even that spike in emotion was like done...
weirdly blank.
Was weirdly blank and weirdly formulaic. Like, it was like, okay, they're freaking out in the kitchen, pull the drawers out and dump them. Break the dishes. Not...
Yelling about pubes.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, that's like
crocodile teeth and
less
pubes.
normal.
You got any pubes? Oh, you got
No,
any?
they're all gone.
All gone.
He told her to get rid of them.
It's like, that was
Yeah.
your
Why blame
idea.
her? Yeah.
Well, I mean, that scene also supports the "it's a wizard."
You're a wizard.
You're a wizard, Martin. Stop abusing it.
Yeah. So, general consensus now. What did we like? What didn't we like in it?
Cinematography, great. I mean, I think it. I don't think I can say it failed to achieve the atmosphere it was going for. I think it's a successful project. Just, and I don't think it's a bad movie. I mean, it's not like, you know.
It did what it set out to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it hit the bullseye.
Oh yeah. I have to say, like, because when we started this, I was like, I have so many theories about this film, and I can't put them all together yet. But it, like, the psychological part of it struck a chord with me. Now, that being said, I don't deal well with monotony. I don't deal well with that sort of boringness. Like, just, I wanted more things to happen, but I understand why they didn't.
Yeah.
But there was still this, like, just make any kind of expression. Just twitch.
Yeah, I
something.
was in the same boat. I was like, sure would like some killing of the sacred deer to happen soon. Cause
Your catchphrase now, and
See,
I love it.
I think that was like prior to the.
We are the sacred deer.
Because the sacred deer is the dad, and because that deer gets killed, the guy that killed the family has to sacrifice.
I thought
Similar
this...
to the sun goats.
Yes.
That Odysseus' men ate, and they're like, nope, you gotta die now. You ate my goats.
Yep.
Don't do that.
What do you think?
Your totes is goats.
I like just the overall deadpan and over the top uncomfortable situations just in movies in general. Whether or not it completely forms together, I'm still entertained for the ride.
Yeah. It was entertaining watching it with a group. Favorite part by far is the dad has Martin locked in the basement, and he's like, hey, wife, Anna, come check this out. And she goes downstairs, and she's just looking. She, like, turns, walks out, and Lauren goes, recalculating. I just lost it. Because they had been acting like robots the whole time, and that was just the perfect note. We actually had to pause it because I could not stop laughing. I needed that break to get through the last half hour of the film, because it was more of the same until he made this really weird choice to spin around and shoot a gun.
I think that was ultimately the only other thing that I really couldn't. I was like, okay, movie, I get it. I'll shake hands with you on what you're doing up until that point. Like, that's what you went with. You're gonna.
He's a doctor. There are so many other things he could have done that could have.
Just some, like, what is it? Sodium pentothal, or is that the truth drug?
That's the truth drug.
Okay.
He wouldn't want to do that.
I think it's more. There's
I do not want to die, Father.
subtle ways that he could have killed a member of his family and still had him have it be least
random.
guilty conscience. Roll a fucking die if you really don't want to do it.
Well,
if you want to shoot someone,
mix
roll a
up
die.
3 hypodermics.
Or get 3 glasses of water and poison one of them and then shift them around. Like,
Final lady, pretty lady.
but just it was, again, that shunting of responsibility.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm making sure that I didn't actually decide anything, except you did.
Yeah, you did kind of shoot your son.
You decided to shoot one of them instead of, like, calling the police or doing a talk screen.
I think it was
Spinal Tap.
Well, that's true.
I think it was magic. I think it was like
definitely
a
wizard.
weird
Definitely
magic.
a wizard.
Yeah. Keith, you got a whole page full of notes. Let's hear some of them.
You've already heard most of them. But what else was there? I guess what I had... and noted that they were smoking a lot more than they'd seen in a while.
So the only one that didn't smoke was the one that got shot. Bob. Yes.
It's big tobacco. Citrus
So he also, like when Martin starts smoking in the room, Bob is the only one that says,
"Hey, don't do that.
Don't do
please.
that." Yeah.
Yeah, you better not.
I would like you not to do that, or something like that.
He said you better not.
Yes.
Weird. How about that?
I wonder. It was interesting to me that there were two things. So when Martin went to the father and said, "You know what has to happen now," as if they had discussed it in some way, or like he should have understood that this was like, this just happens every day. This is how magic works. You know that. And before that, he'd like when he was trying to get Martin to come to his house and meet his family and so forth. I wondered if he did know something and was just trying to gain some sympathy for them. Like, please don't do this to them. Get to know them. I don't know.
Yeah.
When what scene?
Well, I'm sorry. I'm talking about two different things at the same time here. The cafeteria scene at the top of the.
Okay, I got that one. I'm talking about the one where get to know my family. Oh,
well,
okay.
way at the beginning when it was like this is before that was revealed.
I feel like there was just like a real lazy guilt thing happening where he's like, "Oh, okay, I'll be nice.
I'll be
to
your
this
father
kid.
figure now since I killed your dad."
You know, whatever. I'm not going to put too much oomph into it, but this is what I got to do now.
And again, like with the reality versus non-reality, like who would have these conversations with this boy with the way he acts and then be like, "Yeah, you should come meet my family. Come know where I live."
Yeah.
Well, it seemed like they were all. I mean, that the group of people that we were seeing all spoke in the same way. So I think it was like a class equality thing. They spoke the same language. They didn't seem odd to each other because that's how they all were. So
that's true.
There wasn't really any red flags to be had there.
Wow.
So
Yes, I agree.
Anesthesiologists, I guess, were just like one rung below, so they could actually have inflections.
Yeah.
And what about the I guess the hospital administrator, whoever that was at the end, who was like, "That's great. I'm going to go to bed now. See ya."
Yeah.
Well, yes, when
they check out the kids.
If I ran this
father's
hospital,
like,
I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. I would feel like a loser. Yeah, you're not.
Bye. Yeah. Nice to see you, Anna.
Yeah.
Gonna go get some good 8 hours of sleep now. Bye.
I was intrigued with the way Nicole Kidman's character handled things versus Colin Farrell's character.
Yeah.
Like Anna wanted to get to the bottom of why he was doing this revenge.
Yeah.
And then immediately was trying to figure out, well, can't you just kill the dad? Why do you have to suffer?
Yeah. I really liked her thought process through the entire movie because it was a lot of like, okay, how do you know this boy again? Wait a minute. And then, she started putting things together quicker than it seemed quicker. It was, again, a long movie, but it's like, it seemed like Colin Farrell's character was in denial a lot longer. I mean, till the eyes started bleeding, I think he was still like, "Yeah, no, we'll be good with this." Yes. But she was already in the bargaining stage of like, "Okay, I'm going to talk to the kid. Okay, hey, we could have another kid just off one of the other ones."
Like very practical.
One of my favorite parts, actually, there's that whole thing of
it's like, well.
Yeah, it's like, it's very methodical thinking, whereas...
Do you like my outfit and stuff? And
yeah.
I'll drape myself for the bed.
Let's get real. Bob's a drag.
Well, and there was a lot of... Like, I wish I knew more about the however many stages of grief. Because definitely everybody went through bargaining. I mean, Bob cut his hair to be like, "No, I'm a good kid. You don't want to kill this kid." And and Kim was like, "Oh, no, you should take me instead." And like how much of that was sincere and how much of it was, "I'm the best kid because I'm willing to sacrifice myself, so you should save me."
Yeah.
She figured out the test.
Yes.
So... that was one of the things at the very beginning of the movie that I was like, who has a 7-year-old like cut his own hair? Who's like puts a 7-year-old in charge of being like, hey, didn't I tell you to get your hair cut? Dude, I don't have any money other than, I mean, you want me to do it myself?
Mom,
with
Dad,
my safety scissors?
I was totally swamped. I was double booked. I couldn't really schedule something at the salon for myself.
Wait, he's supposed to be 7?
I don't know how. He looked okay. He looked young. I mean, how old was you think
No
you were?
younger than 6, no older than 10.
Aw.
Because
Well,
Kim was supposed to be 14, so I don't think he was within 2 years. It's not really.
I don't know. That's kind of late to get your period, honestly.
I was probably that late.
Oh,
Yeah.
She was-
I was
she was-
probably later than that, actually. So.
She was such a good kid that she just held it in.
I definitely knew people who were 12.
Most of my friends were like 11 or 12. Maybe
Oh,
it's
right.
something in
I
the
was like
water.
17.
Could be.
So,
Oh, my.
yeah, 16, 17 probably.
Personal experience.
Yeah. All
Generational,
different.
maybe.
Generational.
But also, like, her digging on Martin.
Weird. Yeah, that was...
Yes, that was more wizard powers, I suspect.
Well, the fact that she had like she knew the whole score
Yes, when did
way earlier than.
When did everybody learn the entire story? Like, it seemed like Martin expected Dad to know,
Yeah.
and the kids already knew.
Yeah, they just started
Did they
talking
know?
about it.
They started talking
Oh,
about
the daughter
it, like
knew.
they knew.
Going on a
Daughter
lot of
knew.
motorcycle rides.
Daughter knew for sure.
By
Do
the
you
way,
think
I
that she
cursed
was
your family.
cozying up to him to curry favor? Or
See, I think the daughter knew, and then I think the daughter she told Bob. Like she was like, "Look, man,
Hey.
here's how it's gonna be."
No, not Kim. Okay. For a minute I got excited and thought that all of their
Dad's-
names were
Dad's gonna have to kill one of
Palindromes.
us,
Anna, Bob,
or Mom.
Kim. No.
Nope, Kim didn't work.
that reminds me, it's something that amused me about the way, because the deadpan form of the movie. They still try to keep certain kinds of relationships intact. Like the siblings were actually pretty funny together because they would fight, but in that deadpan way of just really emotionless about it, like the whole MP3
When
player
you die,
stuff.
can I have your MP3
Yeah.
player?
Please,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah, you should have lost my other one, that kind of thing.
I want to get up and I want to go out the window too.
I don't think I've ever laughed that hard at a little boy falling on the floor so much as in this movie. Just that was where the puppet thing, where it's just like, here we go, let's go for a
Come
walk.
on, you can do it. Ah.
It was like a puppet almost, like just the...
Drunken marionette.
It
Yeah.
was weird because the kid did such a great job there, and then like when he first said his legs were numb, he was like totally moving his legs.
Yeah.
But then later, it's
Maybe
he
Yeah.
just
Maybe
right
they-
on his knees.
They probably gave him something to make his legs numb.
What?
I think at the beginning, when he was moving his legs, maybe he said he couldn't stand, so maybe it was he couldn't support himself.
Yeah.
Maybe they were weak, is what I'm guessing.
Minor detail.
Maybe it was progressively,
Well, and
got
it started
progressively
in
worse.
waves because
Yeah.
he was like couldn't stand up, and then he could stand up, and then he fell
committed.
down.
He committed to biting it onto his knees. That was very impressive for a kid to act that hard.
Or was $1 a CGI or something?
It's magic, wizards.
Yeah, wizards.
No, that's stylistically, it is. I mean, I guess it's kind of odd watching a movie like this, just because most of what I end up watching now is some, smorgasbord of effects shots. There might have been like one.
They said all the
practical
heart
effects.
surgery things were all
Yeah.
real and everything. So.
Oh, like they borrowed
Yeah.
from
Yeah,
surgeons.
found footage. Not found footage. What the hell am I thinking about?
It's just out there on the internet.
1997
This
VHS
is the Blair
tape
Witch.
was found in an abandoned motel.
Of actual footage, stock footage is what I was thinking
Yes.
of. Yeah. Whoops.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there's tons and tons of surgery stock footage out there.
Well, and like you had mentioned that there wasn't a lot of gore, but honestly, this had more gore in it to me than the Sadako versus.
Yeah. This is
What's her name?
Lauren is our Frady. Sadako versus Kayako, and Lauren is our Frady cat. So I did notice she was looking away in quite a few parts.
Yes, and it was mostly the body gore. Like I didn't really like the open heart surgery at the beginning, but I was also
no blood,
semi-fascinated by it.
It's
I'm
enough.
Is that real? It seems awfully fatty. Like, that guy had a fatty heart.
We don't really cut people open like that when they're healthy, I guess, usually.
Well,
So.
yeah.
That's a ticker.
It's beautiful. We just opened it up to take pictures.
Look at that thing.
Look at it. But when the kid bites him and then bites his own arm, that's whoa, not looking at the screen. Like,
I like that though. It's metaphor.
I was like looking in the reflection on Lee's glasses to try to like
gauge when it's time to
Yes.
But then he still had the blood all over his lips and everything.
Yeah. Most of it was ended up being suggestive, or suggested, I guess. But that's the metaphor. That's, I guess, is one of the things I like about this anyway, or liked about the way the form was. The hint of the fourth wall type thing, which I usually love. Yeah, just like, it's a metaphor.
Yeah, but that part even frustrated me, because it's like, all right, first of all, me biting you is not the opposite of me biting me.
Yeah.
You should bite me.
Yeah.
Like, there's not, that's not, that's not how eye for an eye works.
Yeah.
It's not I take out both of our eyes.
Well, he was working with what he had.
Well, I think he was...
we have the same wound.
I think he was saying, hey, I bet you, like, hey, you killed my dad, and now you've got to take a bite of yourself, too.
Yeah.
Right.
We got the
But
same
that's not
wound.
how that works. He should kill his dad.
He was working with what he had.
Yeah.
It's the way the magic works.
It is crueler in some ways. Sometimes, I guess.
Well,
It's totally crueler than it.
Oh, definitely crueler. Yeah.
With more emotion, it would be crueler to kill your own child.
There's another interesting thing about the dissection that I guess, or just the way the form worked was that maybe it's because it would have been harder to examine some of the finer points of what he had to do if you were distracted by them crying all the time or being too
being
overwrought.
hysterical.
We
Yeah.
removed all the emotion so we can only apply our own.
Yeah.
And my emotion is gross.
No. Well, and none of us have kids here.
Right.
So it's like, you kill the kid.
Fine.
Like,
I wasn't using them. But, going back to the Martin is a wizard theory.
Okay.
I think Martin messed with his mom, too.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Because
that was so weird.
It was so weird.
Yeah.
I talked about what a great body she had now.
Yeah.
I had to sleep in the same bed with her last night.
Yes.
That type of thing.
That's not a healthy
Yeah,
relationship.
yeah,
I'm
no.
sorry.
Mm-mm.
Especially when you talk about your clean white hands.
Yeah.
But yeah, because she, with the way her facial expressions were like so over-exaggerated.
Yeah. Magic going on there.
Magic, yep. He wizarded her.
There's something I need your help with on this because I remember we watched a short horror film.
Okay.
The one where the kid got a gift from the subway, and
Oh yes,
stopped
from
eating the film.
XX. That was in it's 4 movies together, and it was called XX, all by women directors or writers and stuff like that. It's not as awesome as you would think it would. It preys on the mom, on a female, what they think a female mom worst fears would be. So the kid stops eating, then the other kid stops eating, and you got a package in the subway from a stranger, and he stops eating. What?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, how it works now. It's like it's something about opening it and looking at it, so it does something, and then
if you open it and look at it, and then you pass it on to someone else, they open up and look at it, and it wouldn't work on her, so she had to watch all of her family die,
Oh.
starving to death.
starving
just like
to death. They just wouldn't eat.
This is a little off the wall, but that story totally reminds me of the book Do Not Open This Box, which is a children's
That makes
book.
sense.
That just says do not open this box. And I don't think there were any consequences to opening the box in the book. But, you know.
So, what didn't you like about it? Do you have anything?
I'm sure somebody's tried to talk to the cat on cast before.
Yeah. Yes, that's happened.
I mean, I'm okay with with unresolved things, but at the same time, still, I think I don't know. be a little cool to see into
Could have gone a little bit further.
the makings a little bit. At the very least, like the situation with the kid's dad, like who exactly he was a little more than what they're talking about. I mean, obviously a sacred deer in some form or another, but
Yeah.
Great if he'd been a literal deer.
right. Been a little more interesting.
He takes his shoes
Why
off.
are you operating on this deer?
I mean, on that line of thinking, I think I would have been happier with it if the ending had actually carried a higher level of ambiguity, even.
Like if they hadn't shown us the 3 living members in the diner, if it had just stopped with Bob dying.
Or even just hearing the shot the last time after Bunk completed.
I would not have.
That would have, she would have been furious.
I would have been furious. There have been times where I'm like, if this is credits, I am pissed. And then credits hit, and I'm like,
Throw in a shoe.
I watched I think I wrote it in my bullet journal because it was like I was doing like 30 horror movies in October, and Keith had gone out, and I was like, oh, watch this movie. This looks a really good scary movie. And I was like, got all the way to the end, and I was like, if this is credits, I'm going to be pissed. Credits. Fuck! And Gio and Dexter push off the sofa. I'm like, sorry, cats, but I'm so angry with that one. But yeah, no, I would have been very upset if this one had done credits and we didn't get to see who. However, they did do foreshadowing. When he was spinning around, Bob was right behind a picture of a deer. So.
Oh,
wow.
Oh.
So he
Very
was.
observant.
It was going to be the next. I assumed he was going to get shot. One, because he's the youngest, and I don't know. Theories.
The principal did say that he was not as academically as Kim.
Why did they even have that scene if he wasn't going to use that data that he just shopped out?
To show that he was trying to figure out a way to decide which one.
So that's
and
funny.
then
But that's even more shit. So like when the cops are like, so what did he talk to you about? It's like, ask me
Which kid was
of the
my
kids
favorite?
I liked more. Jeez.
It's like he did that, and then he got all these opinions, and then still spun around. What if he had shot the one he actually wanted to save? You know, it's like,
well, then he would have known. It's like, oh, why? I guess I didn't want to kill that one. Oh well, yeah.
tough.
It's like when you
where
flip
am,
a
I
coin.
gonna, where am I going to find another wife who's willing to act like a
Everybody.
person?
And just have more kids if we have to kill one of them. You know?
Yeah.
There was like, and especially
That's a keeper.
especially with Anna, there was like a lot of really sticky subtext over like submission and domination that was really like this, like again something that's just like just out of sight, just under the surface.
Well, lots of little things too. Like even when she was talking about the anesthesiologist, like what happened when they went over to the house for lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah. The handy in the car. That was just like, it was so. She didn't even like give him anything. It was just like, hey,
was
just gonna
business.
do this.
My shave.
Done.
Not only that, but it's the eye contact. just the
That's what you wanted.
the eye contact.
Tell
Huh?
me about my
That's
husband.
what you wanted.
Tell me about a botched surgery 2 years ago.
Cop up that file.
It's like, who can be in that situation and still perform and still like maintain eye contact
She
the
had-
whole fucking time?
Well, it is
She
Nicole
has-
Kidman.
She has really clean, beautiful hands.
Yes, and she is beautiful.
But,
So
yeah.
I would still need more. If it had been me, I would need a little bit more.
You would need her to say, "Hey, Marianne, I'm Nicole Kidman." What she's doing.
Nope. I would need
I think she was kind of perfect for this because that really has always kind of been my issue with her. Is I've always felt she just has kind of a flat affect to her. She just always.
That's not what I thought you were about to say.
Like dull.
Ass.
Yeah, flat ass.
Yeah, this guy can't stay. I'm like, why keep Cassie there? You know.
Pancake butt.
No. I think and it was interesting. It's like I said with Colin Farrell, like, really don't like him. with Nicole Kidman, it's less dislike and more I just don't like her. But I felt like she was really putting a lot into this. Again, kind of ironic, but I think that she meshed really well with the project. Probably better even than Colin Farrell did, because he's just always kind of flighty, no matter what he's doing.
She had some good facial expressions.
She did.
Like when she was watering the lawn, when she was first looking at Martin in the basement, you could tell that there was way more under the surface. Than what we were.
Are you fucking kidding me? But I can't show this on my face, so I'm just gonna look at you and be like, are you fucking kidding me? In my head, and then just turn around and leave.
Well, and figure out what the next thing that you need to do is.
Yeah, what's my next thing? Yes. So when you get back in here, Lee, we can talk about your entire crux of what you thought the movie would be about. Trying to
handies for everybody.
And new.
Yes.
No, Bob.
The joke that we were.
Right. That the whole fulcrum was Bob's responsibility of watering the plants.
Yeah.
And he won.
Yeah.
I don't have to water his plants ever again.
Oh God. I was going to say that I agree with about Nicole Kidman's performance in this. Something about at first it was the whole flat affect was kind of off-putting again, as I was saying at the beginning. But I started to appreciate what all the actors were putting into it. It's actually pretty difficult, as an exercise you would give somebody to say, do the scene this way, even though you've been trained to do it like this.
Act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of
emote.
Anti-act, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the one thing I did like about. I kept going back to thinking of, could I do this if I was an actress? And I would have a hard time not being like
mugging.
Yeah,
mugging like Rupert Grint.
Yeah.
But
Mugging like Rupert.
He's making faces at me.
Making Ron faces. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Just knocked it right out of my mouth.
Part your thoughts.
So let's go to our rating scale. So we do 1 to 10 on Marianne's Macabre movie review. We do.
I like that podcast. I'll give it a 10.
2 values. We do scare factor. Lauren has a third, fright factor. How often you looked away.
Right.
And then entertainment value. So how were you entertained by it? How horrified, scared, whatever you were by it. And then yours would be the same. So, you want to start? Or we can start with...
Go for it. Somebody else.
Well, all right. For entertainment for me, it was actually a pretty high score because, as I said, it actually made me laugh, out loud. So that's a lot for me. Even
I don't think they meant to make you
laugh.
I know.
That's the point. That's the thing. So I was still entertained by the process of getting through it and going, "What is going on?"
I want an IMDb score also.
Give me a number.
Your serious score.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, all right. First of all, entertainment 8, 9, somewhere around there. So. Again, I'm really torn about movies that are obviously trying to be quote unquote good or artistic in certain ways, and I don't know, it works against it sometimes in my opinion, but probably still a similar score, probably about an 8 or so. I could tell they set out to accomplish what they were trying to accomplish. Not very scary to me at all. Probably a 2. It's just all
instead of saying scary, how about it's a horror, the horrific factor of it, because it wasn't meant to be a scary movie. It's meant to be a horror thriller type film. What would you rate it in that? How off put were you by it? How we're going on the other factors of horror and not just the scare and the gore. Let's go by the.
Okay, well, I mean, it was still very antiseptic. I mean, what they were doing was they distilled it down to just the concept, which it's okay. It's not a new concept. The idea of being like the whole Sophie's Choice kind of thing that shows up in other types of forms, and they did it in such a way that was so far removed from the visceral kind of, oh my god, this is happening. It was so, they walked you into it and they're holding your hand and saying, hey, look at this, what do you think?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so
it was kind of funny.
Yeah.
So it's still a 2, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see what you mean. The dryness kind of made it less horrific.
Yeah.
Entertainment factor, I would say around a 5 or a 6, because once I actually got through the whole thing, I think I'm going to have more fun later thinking about it and trying to, figure things out. Kind of like David Lynch movies where you, you leave and you're like, what the what?
Yeah.
But then you, think about it a whole bunch later and you're like, oh, I definitely got days worth of entertainment out of that film.
Yeah.
Even though I still don't know what the what.
Yeah.
So yeah, entertainment 5 or 6. Gore, I mean, we talked about the couple of places that I was not into. I'd say I probably spent a few minutes not looking at the screen, but nothing huge. Scary factor, again, I feel like it's more of a long-term thinking about it kind of horror. Yeah. Where the more I think about it, the more I try to put myself in the place of those characters, that it will be more horrific. Because, I mean, they left it dry enough that all of these people are kind of just like cookie cutters, and you could put yourself in their space and give their voices your voice, and then get yourself worked up if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
So scariness or horror, I'd put it in a 5 or a 6 as well. And what was the other one? I did my couple minutes.
The IMDb
you've got your you've got your 3. Yeah, you looked away for so many minutes. You got your entertainment and all that stuff. Lee.
That's interesting that you mentioned David Lynch. There were kind of 2 things that I was thinking about this movie in comparison with. The first off was Film Nouveau, because I felt like it was all of the stylistic choices were a really interesting kind of opposition to 60s, 70s French cinema, where you'd have a bunch of jump cuts and basically, yes, there's dialogue, but you more have people just doing stuff, and it's okay, and then boom, jump cut, and then it's a car driving really fast down the road, and that's a certain form of expressionism, and I thought this was definitely a very expressionistic film. And as far as David Lynch, as far as horror goes, I would have to rate it fairly low. I get, like I said earlier, I get, people saying oh, this is inside the horror. I can see that argument, but then if I compare it to something like Blue Velvet, as far as the whole people making horrible decisions, seemingly normal, well-off, privileged white people having horrible things happen and making horrible decisions based on those things, I've seen that in a far more horrific bent. So probably horror-wise, I would say 2 maybe. Entertainment, I would actually have to rate it fairly high. Probably an 8. Just I think it was successfully crafted enough that I was still able to appreciate it on that level. It's apart from whether or not I feel like I truly liked it. But and like Lauren said, I think there's still, because of its high success with its execution, I think it does give you a lot to think about outside of the experience of watching the movie itself. So, yep.
Well, I liked it. Not totally wowed by it, but I mean, I don't know, for I would probably say somewhere around a 6.5, just straight out flat entertainment.
Yeah.
I liked it. There was nothing I was really like super upset about with the movie, but it's just as far as, I don't know, it didn't have like a huge wow factor for me. I do think that like it's pretty horrific just as far as how every situation was treated in the movie, but at the same time it's kind of numbed by the fact that it's all also kind of ordinary and plain. Like, I can talk to my son about jerking off my dad one time, and we can talk to each other about when you're having your periods, and we can casually discuss killing a child and having another one. So, and I mean, I think that was done purposefully too, to try to like, this is actually, this is something that a lot of this stuff could be a lot more normal underneath the surface in a lot of places. So, not going to be the most horrifically presented thing. It's going to be more of like a typically presented thing, which in itself is also kind of more horrific too. So, I mean, I would say probably it'd be like torn and go like right down the middle with like the horror thing, probably like right around a 5, just because of that. It just kind of counterbalances itself. Yeah. Just as far as I look at that stuff, because like they remind me a lot of like Harmony Korine movies, like Gummo, like these movies that are like insanely uncomfortable and make you feel really out of place. That's presenting all these seemingly normal situations, but they're so out of the ordinary at the same time. They just kind of gross you out. And there's actually, in Gummo, there's a really, really like disturbing spaghetti eating scene too. So it just kind of like, it kind of just like watching that spaghetti scene, I'm just thinking of like that kid in the bathtub eating his spaghetti again. And I'm just like, oh god, this is so like reminiscent of that movie once again. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. There was a lot of things that I just kept like thinking about, like just comparatively throughout that movie, going back to like these strange other non-horror experiences, quote horror experiences. I'd say as far as like fright or anything, like, I mean, there's nothing that bothered me as far as that stuff goes. So very bottom of the scale for that.
So for me, I agree with Mike. I did not think this was an amazing movie. Did not think it was the worst movie either, though. So I'm going 5. I looked at what I compared other movies to. It's not a 7. That's Annabelle Creation and on Homebound.
Housebound?
Housebound, yes.
I don't know if it's
5. I have The Lurking Man and The Black Waters of Echo Pond, which I think is one Lauren and I watched together many, many moons ago.
Oh, not that I remember.
It was really bad.
I might. Okay.
But it was a 5, and that's a solid 5 for me.
There's something I was saving for your return, actually.
Okay.
As far as the horror factor for you, the food stuff.
Oh, I can't.
Get a look away from that.
I can't stand food stuff.
So the donut cramming and the
spaghetti. The donut cramming, spaghetti, and there was one other thing.
The apple.
Eat that whole box of donuts in 5 minutes.
It wasn't the apple. It was I like meat.
Oh yes,
this meat is good. Yeah.
That's actually kind of interesting too. Like they're taking something that's a lot more ordinary, mundane thing. I just like eating and turning into this really disgusting, uncomfortable experience. Like every time it's on the screen, it's either it's forceful or it's just really over the top, uncomfortable. Like you're sitting here eating this giant plate of spaghetti in the morning, like very sloppily, and
or deheading the raw fish.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And they had
cheeking.
They had
make sure you get the cheeks
weird,
off.
They must have brought the mic in really close for the spaghetti scene and for.
Can you turn and look at
there? It is. I love that they just. Here's one of the stills.
The spaghetti scene and.
I like the payoff for that though, because I was like, what the hell are you talking about? He twirled it up on his fork. So like, I actually really appreciated the payoff in that conversation.
When Colin Farrell spears the meat and he's like, and I was like, dude, who the fuck? What? Don't eat like that. And,
especially with that kind of a beard.
Yeah. So
be careful.
All of those
got surgery later.
Like right up to the.
How much of that meat is just
like right up to the edge of the lip with.
Yeah.
Just that's what happened in the surgery. He had a bunch of shit fall on his beard, caused infection. It's all the beard's fault.
So, for my score, I looked away because I don't like food stuff in movies. I've never been able to. I've never been able to stomach it. For me,
words, isn't
so it's 5 for the movie factor, the IMDb score. The horror factor's a 5. I was not scared by it. I was off-put a lot by it.
Yeah.
I was just like, I don't like this. And then, especially with the food scenes, I was like, I don't want to see this because that's why would you shove a fucking donut down a kid's mouth anyway?
It's
So leave it.
cringy. It's cringy, not scary.
Yeah.
But it's to save his life.
Anyway, so there's one thing I forgot to mention before we got to the ratings. The music.
Oh, gracious,
good.
yes.
Lord. It was, they were very one instrument heavy through the entire thing. Okay, what's going to hit the cello for the first act?
Yes, and then a timpani came in.
Second act is timpani. Third act was like the woodwinds. And I'm like, for fuck's
But
sake.
like screaming woodwinds.
Yeah, and it was never subtle music. It was always like, we're having a conversation.
Yeah, there were times where it legitimately drowned out
the
dialogue.
music. Where I was like, okay, we get it. You're hitting us over the head with music. We get it. We're off put. Got it.
My favorite, the timpani section, Lee had one of my favorite lines. They're about the lullaby.
Oh,
They've been playing the sleeve.
folks have been through a lot.
Oh my god! And the cello following the people
Well,
around.
that's a trick I used to like to do too, because what the person playing it was doing was moving the tuning pedal while they were playing the roll.
Okay. And what does
So
that
you were
do?
getting that's why it was going up and down
No.
in pitch.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So music. I think it was a little bit overdone.
Well,
For
normally
Mhm.
I am a slave to what the music is telling me to feel. If the music is saying you should cry at this scene,
Yeah.
I
Oh,
bawl
me
my eyes
too.
out.
I
If
am
the
too.
music says something's going to be creeping up on you, I'm like, oh, looking behind me. This time, I was just like, music, you're taking me out of it. You're not accomplishing anything.
Yeah.
You're just making me annoyed at a cellist.
Exactly. That's exactly how I felt too. I was like, what is happening? Like,
Stop it. Shh.
like the opening scene was black. And then with this cello, and I'm like, what are we doing?
How much
Well,
coffee did you drink?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't disagree with you, but I also see it as just being like super in line with all of the rest of the stylistic choice for the movie. It was like extremely stark, very not literally monotone, but just like a very like none of it was pieces. It was just I'm playing this flourish a lot.
Over and over and over.
They told me I could just wail on it, so I am.
So now we go to the little part where we promote something that you might be doing, or a charity that you care about, or just get up on your soapbox for that 30 seconds to a minute or so. Keith, is there anything you'd like to talk about?
Huh.
And go. Well, I'm always obliged to talk about It's All Been Done Radio Hour, which is also the network that we're on. It's All Been Done Presents. We do live recordings every month at Mad Lab and release sketches for every week on the network.
Very good, Keith. I'd like to talk about It's All Been Trekked before. It is a show that we're a podcast where they started with the original series, but they're going to go through the entire thing. And so even the cartoons. Good luck with that.
No, those
So-
are awesome. Those are the best part.
Official canon.
Would you like
So-
to join us for one of those?
Sure.
Well, it's not here, but I mean,
Yeah.
it will be.
We'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. Safe space. So they watch an episode and then they talk about it. And they're finishing season 2. I've been on one. I was in the Trouble with Tribbles episode because I love that one so much. But it's weekly. Comes out weekly.
I think so. The
Yeah.
the schedule's somewhat variable.
And also, I just wanted to promote the Patreon, which is patreon.com/IABD. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Actually, don't forget to rate us and stuff. Rate Marianne's Macabre Movie Review. I always forget to say that, but please leave us a rating if you like us. If you want to hear,
rating.
if you want to talk about us, find us on Facebook at Marianne's Macabre Movie Review, on Twitter at macabre_review. Other than that, I think someone might have something to talk about karaoke and trivia.
Yeah.
Do you want to promote your stuff that you do?
Excess trivia and excess karaoke all around Central Ohio, 7 days a week. Yeah, on all the social medias, Facebook, excess trivia and excess karaoke, Instagram, Snapchat.
Extra S, right?
How's it spelled?
Extra S, excessive like that. And Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat now at Excess Ohio as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're this year's kind of exciting because we're trying to roll out and do a lot more work with charities and everything. We're actually doing a bunch of charity shows throughout the next couple of months for Cystic Fibrosis Foundation.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So check that out. He does trivia almost every weeknight.
Four nights a week trivia for me personally.
Yeah.
And 1 night of karaoke.
Yeah.
Free to play, fun, win prizes.
Super cool. You could get bar tabs paid, all that fun stuff.
Sometimes concert tickets, cool swag, all kinds of nifty stuff. A lot of cool stuff with the fundraising stuff we're doing now too. A bunch of like bonus stuff for donations.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Always a good time.
Lee,
Extra
Lauren?
S is for sexy. I'm kind of at a loss.
Well, I thought of one, actually, is Wigs for Kids or Locks of Love. Basically, if you've grown your hair long and have at least 8 to 12 inches to spare, ask your hairdresser if they do Wigs for Kids or Locks of Love, and you can actually donate that so that kids with alopecia or recovering from cancer can have wigs that are made of actual human hair.
Awesome. Very cool.
Every time my hair gets long enough.
Nice. That's really cool. Super cool. So I think that's it, folks. Whoever's hanging around for It Comes at Night, buckle up.